Great. Well, welcome, Emily. Thank you so much for joining us. Just for those who are joining us for the first time, this is a series that we're doing to give people insight into what certain jobs are really like. A lot of people are in career transition or they're getting into their careers for their first time, and they think they might know something about a particular job, but what they don't know is really what could creep up on them and make that life not so great. So what we want to do is kind of open the door for people to see what certain jobs are really like. And Emily is very proficient in the real estate industry. And so she's the CEO of Emily Hanley Homes. Emily, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Great to have you. Why don't you give us just a little background on what Emily Hanley Homes is all about and what you focus on?
Yeah, so I got my license in residential real estate about 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years in a couple of weeks. So I only focus on buying and selling homes. So homes and condos, it's very different from the commercial world, and it's not really rentals either. So purely real estate transactions. I have my own team. So it's me and a salaried employee who is our team assistant, and then a buyer's agent who helps me with transactions. We are under the brokerage BOLST. So whenever you're a real estate agent, you have to be under a brokerage. You can go get your broker's license. It is like an extra 75 hour, maybe even more than that course. And now
Okay.
you are in charge of all of your legal liabilities. And there's a lot of extra stuff that goes with it. So I'm fine not being my own broker, but I have my team with my
Okay.
brokerage. Yeah, we're in Atlanta.
Okay. So you get to basically call your own shots, but you have a broker that you work with that kind of handles that part of the transaction world. So they're really just kind of an administrative function that has to happen.
Yes, administrative probably is the wrong word to use just
Okay.
because it's a little bit, it's more tiered than that. A broker, so if you're a real estate agent, let's say someone sues me, they don't sue me, they sue my broker because my broker is in charge of me. So
Okay.
because of that, different brokerages have different thoughts on which agents they're going to allow in their brokerage. So some of the more established brokerages, if you just got your license, they're going to be like, no, go sell some homes. Let's see if you're good at
Okay.
this. I don't want to take on the liability of you messing up these contracts
Okay.
because really
So it's
that
on, maybe they're a lot more like a uh kind of a wholesaler where you roll up to them. They're not your boss,
right.
but they
But you
do
do
have
pay
an
them.
they do have a an official relationship with you.
Yes, I think of it more as like an umbrella because there's
Okay.
going to be different umbrellas. You have to be under one umbrella or you're going to hold
Okay.
your own.
All
And
right.
then underneath the umbrella, you can be a single agent, you can be on a team, you can have your own team, but
Right.
everyone's going to be funneling up to that broker. And then part of the process too of picking your broker is learning where they all differ. Some
Hmm.
are going to charge more money, but give you marketing
Yeah.
materials, signs,
Right.
helpful content, learning
Okay.
opportunities.
Okay. So before we get into that, let's kind of back up a little bit. And what made you, select this industry of all? One of the things that I've always seen in this industry is um it feels like kind of a go-to. It seems like every soccer mom that decides she wants to go back into some business, to earn a little income decides to be, oh, I want to be a real estate agent. I can't tell you how many people that, we go to church with or whatever who just decide, oh, I want to be an agent. And yet you dove in kind of right out of school and were super successful and, dominate what they do. So how did you get drawn into it?
So it was definitely like a right place at the right time kind of thing. I was in a sales job role at a startup, and it was a fintech company. I majored in international affairs, wanted to go into the nonprofit world, came across this opportunity with unlimited PTO, wear whatever you want, catered breakfast, lunch, and dinner, bring your dog to work, massage chairs. I was like, okay, I should try this. Got in, money was great. The perks were great. I think I took 35 days of
But
PTO.
let me interject something because I do know something about your story there.
It was
Be
terrible.
be no, be honest. You worked your butt off and did really well, and you were surrounded by a lot of people that spent their time in the nap room and did nothing. So at the end of
Oh
the day,
yeah.
your hard work was what was
No,
paying.
yeah, we're rounding out that story. So for all the pros that got me in, I was miserable. It was terrible. There was the culture there was scary, especially for like a 23-year-old young woman who had just gotten into the real world. I wouldn't even go into all of that, but little oversight, just extreme pressure cooker of production. the way that everyone talked to each other, if you did, or even if you didn't hit your numbers, was super aggressive. And it was just all in all terrible. I was like, the money's not worth it. I would come home all the time and be like, I would literally make half as much money as I'm making right now to not have to do this job. Like, just tell me where to go. So at this time, but it's hard to walk away from, like, where do you
Oh,
go
yeah.
from there with all of those perks? Anything you're taking a step down. It's like, I hate it. So it was just a tough position to be in. Well, we were in a married couple group at Buckhead Church here in Atlanta, and our Bible study leader had a real estate team, and we were kind of getting to know each other. And I guess it was like a couple months in, maybe 4 or 5 or so. And you meet, everyone's doing small talk. How's your day? How's work? And every time I'm like, it's miserable. Listen to this crazy story of what happened this time. And one day Justin was like, well, have you thought of real estate? Like, I think you could like it. I think you'd be good at it. And I was like, I don't know anything about real estate, but I'll lie and say I have a doctor's appointment. Let's get coffee tomorrow. We got coffee. It went great. I ended up finding like 3 different real estate agents to talk to kind of vet what he was saying, get my own 2 cents. I put in my 2 weeks the next week, and then
Oh, wow.
history. I know. I
Okay.
was like, let's just do it.
Yeah. So you clearly had a knack for sales going into this, but as you got into real estate, what skills did you develop once you got into the industry?
So I think it's always been pitched, if you're really talking to a realtor, it's sales, but it's not, because the sale is myself. I'm asking you to trust me to help you with your transaction, but that transaction doesn't start when you're ready to buy the house. That transaction starts when you're ready to think about buying a house. That transaction starts when you're thinking about selling your house. And so my job is to make sure that anyone and everyone, as many people as I can think, oh, I need to call Emily. So before, I'm selling a product, and it was very transactional. It's like, how many loans can you get people to take in a day? Because that was their product. And then you got rewarded for getting them to take their loan. So that's a very different sales cycle of, you get them on the phone, maybe you follow up, you're kind of really riding that initial curiosity that they had when they got approved for the loan, you're problem solving through how it can help their business. It's just very single-minded and very transactional. Whereas now it's the total opposite, because it's the long game. There are people who I've been working with for years, or people who aren't yet ready to say that they're working with anyone, but we talk all the time about homes, and my goal is for them to call me. So the skill set is really patience, learning how to have good systems so people don't slip through the cracks. And then I think also learning how to pitch yourself in a way that other people will receive well.
Yeah. So what has made you good at this? Because that's the people side of it. But at the end of the day, you have to find people a house, or you have to find a buyer if somebody's selling. So how have you become good at all those pieces?
So really, it's a numbers game. If you cast a really wide net, you're gonna get fish in it. If you cast a really short one, you might get some, but it's not going to be nearly as many. I would say my secret is shameless self-promotion. I will talk to anyone and everyone about real estate. I think I'm really good at my job. I'm not afraid to tell people that in a nice, cool, calm, collected way. I definitely don't pressure anyone to do anything, but I'm also not afraid to be like, I can definitely help you, and I would love to anyone. So I've gotten clients from standing in line at coffee shops. Every party I go to, someone wants to talk about real estate. Usually we end up doing that. I definitely have honed my social media game. I wouldn't say that is necessarily the reason I'm successful, but it's definitely a helpful piece of the puzzle that I've gotten really good at, and kind of curating that to fit me. It's kind of funny right now in the social media world, there's so many people who are advisors to different sects of people, whether that's startup small businesses, real estate agent, coaches, whatever. And their whole platform is to benefit those people. But if you look at them doing that specific job, they don't do it. Like, they don't have anyone that they're coaching. They're not actually selling homes, yet their whole platform with 30,000 followers and their coaching program is all about them in that business. And so it's just kind of funny. I think that in social media, I'm very transparent that this will help you get business, but it may not look like it on social media to the same extent that these other people are.
Right. Okay. Now you talked about, I believe his name was Justin, that kind of suggested you explore real estate. So he set some expectations, And it sounds like a lot of those were met. You kind of vetted those things out. But what expectations, did you have, or what surprises did you find, once you were in the business?
I think so getting into it, I was like, I really want to have like one Sabbath day. I was really optimistic of like work-life balance and what that could look like. And just like looking back, it's like 5 years in, and I still don't see a world where I can actually take a full day off.
Mhm.
And that's just, it's kind of an unrealistic. And Justin told me that. He was really a straight shooter. So I feel like it's more of just really realizing what actually, because you think sometimes the rules don't apply to you, and it's like, oh well,
Right.
I could figure it out. It's like,
Yeah.
no,
I'm smarter than all
you
those other
can't.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like, it'll be different. I'll do things differently. It's like, not
Yeah.
really. So I think one thing that is unexpected is just the constant weight of you need to be working. And this is something that agents talk about all the time. All agents, from like low production to high production levels, even if you are exceeding your goals, if there is a day where you're not slammed back to back to back, or you actually have breathing room, like it feels wrong
Hmm.
because you are so in the driver's seat of everything to do. And it's not like a 9 to 5 job where, yeah, sure, maybe you work overtime, maybe you work some weekends, but you work in these parameters. You work in this office building. You work within the goals that someone else has set for you. You work within the commission structures that someone else has set for you. It's like at a certain point, someone else is kind of dictating that. In real estate, no one's setting anything. If I sit at home all day long, I don't make any money. And if I go grind from 8 to 8 every day, I'm going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So by not working, you're like either agreeing to not make money. You have to set your own, and
Okay.
that's just so hard because who doesn't
Yeah.
want to keep making money?
So now you're out on your own, but I'm assuming there are some kind of big organizations out there versus your small team. What's the difference in working on a small team like yours versus somebody who might say, no, I want to be part of a big group? How does
Yeah.
that differ?
So there's different ways that you can do real estate teams, and it's good to understand the structure because I didn't really ask that many questions. So you have your brokerage at the top, and if you want to put in a lot of effort and time, then you can be your own broker. Then it is just you. That's it, and then that's one option. Now you can also be an agent, a single agent under a brokerage, so that you're just your individual agent. You do your job, you show up when you want to. No one's really bothering you, and that's that. Then you can be an agent on a team, and that team can be anywhere from 5 people to 50 people, maybe more. So within that team, they choose how they structure it. So that can be totally different.
Okay.
And then you have groups as well. So groups are going to be more of like if me and you started it and split it off 50-50 and we're smaller, we do everything the same. I would say mine operates more as a group. My agent who I have with me has been in the business longer than I have, but she's from Chicago, so she doesn't have the portfolio of clients to work, whereas I'm
Okay.
from Atlanta. So
And
those are all my people.
you mentioned that you have a salaried team member. My understanding is you may have like an admin or a researcher or somebody that's doing that kind of work, and you're investing in them as part of your business. But at the end of the day, if you're an agent or a broker, it's straight commission. There's
Oh,
no
100%.
salary yet. Now, if you
Yeah.
are there organizations that will pay a draw to a new agent to help
Not
them get
really. No one
started?
wants to because everyone wants to be an agent. It's like, are you any good at this? Like,
Right.
and plus, I don't really want to risk my leads on the new agent because I don't know if you're going to close them, and I already paid for this.
Okay.
So that's why people less want to. So the team that I joined though was very focused on building up new agents. They love training. It was a really great stepping stone because I was 23. Just, it's like you're calling your friends who wants to buy a house and like they're laughing. They're like, what are you
Right.
talking? I can't
Right.
buy a house. Or you call them and they're like, oh yeah, no, I actually have a trust fund. I got it last year and I already bought a house. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
that's
Thanks for
cool too.
calling me. Yeah.
Right. So with with the team, different teams have different structures, and they will definitely take a lot of the commission that you're given, but it's foundational. My friends and our mantra used to be gas and groceries. It would be like, I have to go show this home an hour away to these people who I know don't have any money, but gas and groceries, like we
Right.
have to keep going through the motions because eventually something will catch, and you do that. But I definitely set the expectation you're not going to get a paycheck probably for 3 to 4 months from getting your
So, yeah,
license.
so somebody coming in, and let's say that they come in and they really understand that they're going to have to do the grind. I call it doing the grunt work. Um, how long till you think that they, you know, are able to complete a transaction? Because a real estate transaction doesn't happen in a day. I mean, they
Right.
deal with this, there's all inspections, there's, financing, there's all the things that have to get in place, for closing. So what can they expect?
That depends too. And I know it's hard because we're trying to set expectations, but it truly is so different. I had people on the same team that I was on who had their first transaction in 30 days. They joined the team, they had
Mhm.
someone to hold their hand through the entire transaction. The team gave them a lead, or maybe someone reached out and they were able to close it. And like, that was great. And then I also, like, my story is I joined in September and I didn't have my first closing until December. And then
Okay.
I had 2 closings then. But like, that's a long time to not make any money. Like, you have to have
Yeah.
savings and you're spending money, you're spending money to go get coffee with everyone you know, is what everyone's going
Right.
to say. So you have to go spend money and get coffee with everyone you know. You have to go drive wherever it is. Like, there are some startup costs.
Yeah.
And if you're single doing it, I definitely feel for those people because it is different. It's scarier and it's hard.
Especially somebody getting out of school that might even have student debt. So all of a sudden here they're
Right.
looking at having to, start
Yeah.
paying that down too. Yeah.
But that's where, it is a good idea to have a team and to look into that, because they're going to teach you what you need to know. You're going to have people on standby to have people to call. And it is really helpful. You're going to make less money because you're going to pay them for their help, but no one wants to help anyone for free. So
Yeah.
it makes sense.
So let's, you've been around the block a couple of times with it now. You've seen people probably get in and probably get out, but let's say just kind of an average producer coming in their first couple of years, what do you think that they would make?
I think you can back into that question a little bit by thinking, how many people do I know in the city that I'm doing it in? So if we're just going to take Atlanta, how many people do you know in Atlanta? If you just moved here and it's not many people, the number's not going to be high or existent, really, because leads cost a lot of money. It's not easy to convert them because they're the most random people. Think of how often you yourself are on Zillow. I know I'm in Hawaii, I'm in Manhattan looking at penthouses. Like, everyone is on this platform, and so the quality of leads is really low.
Mhm.
So even if you pay for leads, not guaranteed anything. And then if you don't know anyone, that's that. So let's pretend that you know 200 people and you're getting into real estate from college, high school, all the people you grew up with. Then I would say in the first, let's call it 18 months, maybe 50,000.
Okay.
You got to remember that's before taxes, because taxes are
Right.
going to hit you pretty hard because it's all sales. And then if you've been doing it longer, then maybe 100 in your second year.
Okay.
And then the cap is multi-million dollars. And now those people are grinding, and usually they're
Mhm.
older because they've built a portfolio of people.
Well, they probably work their way up into, not the super mega mansion, but they're at that level where the property values are higher.
Yeah.
Clientele knows what they want to do. There's, they
Yeah.
trusted advisor.
Also, yeah, not unrealistic. Like, for the team that I was on, there are multiple people making over $500,000 a year, and that was with the team splits of
Okay.
people taking money. So it's awesome because there is this crazy opportunity to just outperform so many people and make a lot of money, which is great. But then it's that other, double-edged sword of like, are you ever going to sleep or have any time
Yeah.
to spend the money that you're making?
So, in this job, obviously success is measured in the most simple way. That's the way it is with sales. Are you closing deals?
Mm-hmm.
But have you seen people that are putting in the time and effort that just don't make it happen for whatever reason? Have you noticed anything about those people? Like, they're bringing baggage from home. They don't focus. They rub people the wrong. What is it that would make somebody really not a fit, even if they were willing to work hard?
I think anyone, if you don't like people, this is a lot of people. You have to go down the phone with mom and dad after you've seen the home 3 times, because turns out mom and dad are giving money. So now you have to sit and talk through them and listen to them talk about how they know everything about real estate. And you're just like, okay. So I think that if you aren't patient and you're not good with people, it's going to be a lot harder to find joy in this job. I would also say people like you do have to be aggressive to be good at this job. I think, to your soccer mom comment, a lot of people get into it because pretend you only sell 5 homes a year. It's like $25,000 that soccer mom wouldn't have. Now all of a sudden she's going to Cabo with her girlfriends and she can buy herself a fancy purse and no one's telling her not to. Like, I think it's that's what I love is the flexibility of it. And so for that path, you don't have to be super tenacious. You don't have to be super go-getter in your business. You just have to have enough people who like you and trust you with their money to get some stuff done. And like, that's one of the reasons I got out of my other job is because I'm like, I do want to have a family one day, and no one here has kids. And if they do, they're all men. And I'm not a man, and I can't do this job and have kids. Like, it wasn't possible. I didn't see myself doing it. The hours didn't make sense. None of it made sense. And so I left with real estate, if I want to put my foot on the gas pedal and make enough money to hire a nanny and crank out transactions, I can do that. And if I want to slow down and stay at home, but still sell homes and make an extra thousands of dollars, like, that's great. I love that. So either commit to not making a lot of money and do this part-time, or crank it out, be tenacious, build your book of business. If you're not willing to get rid of, I'm busy every Saturday, I'm busy every Sunday, I'm busy every evening. I work all the time. And so if you don't want to work,
where can it lead? So a lot of people, look at a career path and say, I want to build something. So do you have to become a broker, or can you become more of a kind of company leader where you bring in 10 agents below you and you act as the mentor and the motivator and the trainer and the guardrails that they have to help them be more successful, and they get value out of that?
That's kind of inching into the idea that we were talking about earlier with the social media people, where it's like, you're going to train other people on how to be good real estate agents, but you haven't sold a home in years. Those are like my least favorite kinds of coaches, and they charge $400 for 30 minutes. And it's like, you don't know the market that we're in. You don't know what my clients are saying. You haven't done this in God knows how long. And the market's changed every 6 months ever since 2019. So if that's your goal, that's a completely different job. And that could be a long-term goal. I know a lot of people, there are options, but I think for the sake of this conversation, that's not a real estate agent. And the job is completely different. I think that where it can lead is you're your own business owner. Once you're working with people where you're not desperate for gas and groceries, you can turn down the people who want you to drive an hour and a half for a $300,000 house.
Isn't
It's
it
like,
wonderful
actually, I
to
don't
be able
need
to say
that.
no?
Yeah. And so it's like, you can get to a point where you're able to do that. I mean, you can build your own, like, I didn't have a team 5 years ago. Now we have a website, we have our branding, we're doing our own client events. I do have someone salaried. I have the other agent to where if someone wants to buy a nice house and they're far away, or maybe it's someone I don't know that much, I can give them the business. In real estate, you can make a referral commission. So if you call me and you're like, Emily, I have someone, I live in Indiana and they're moving to Atlanta, can you help them? My answer is yeah. And then you get a kickback from that. So I think that there's a lot of different ways to use your license, but a lot of them aren't applicable if you're not good at the job.
Okay.
So get good at the job, and then you'll figure out what you want to do from there.
Right. So in my career, whether I was, an executive recruiter or a software salesperson, there were certain things that just created, stress. In the executive recruiting world, it's that you don't control your product. Your product is a person, and they can change their mind at any point, along the way. In software sales, it is that you've got customers that are lying to you. They're telling you, oh yeah, this is the way things are. And you find out, wow, that's not what's really going on here. And you get blindsided by things along the way. What are the things in residential real estate that create stress?
So many things. I mean, right now in the market that we're in, there's little to no homes available. So anytime a home does hit, we're competing against a ton of other people. I have to look at my clients and say, hey, it was listed at this. We're going to have to pay $55,000 over that if you want to win this house. They're like, that's not my budget. And I'm like, I know, but also like, we haven't seen any other homes that you like in 6 months. So kind of like get in or get out. And then my job is to say that respectfully and, to tell them why I think that that's a good idea or maybe not a good idea. But at the end of the day, they could say no. even if it makes sense. And then I'm starting from scratch. And it's like, all right, well, let's just wait for another home to come up that's probably going to go over asking, that you're still not going to want to compete against. So you're working with people and you can't make them do something. Let's pretend I did make them buy the house. Well, we don't know what's going to happen. What if the market crashes? Now all of a sudden they're calling me, you made me buy this house. You made me pay over asking. Like, regardless of how I pitched it, if I didn't make them do, like, they're signing the contracts. I can't make them do that. But my business is built on longevity. If people don't like me when they close, they're not going to call me to sell it. And that's the foundation of my business. So you're working with people, which is hard. You're also working with parents, which is hard. Sometimes even in the older ages, you're still working with their parents who are now in older homes. They don't know what's happening. You're working out with their brothers and sisters. So the people dynamic can be absolutely crazy. And you just have to like patiently wait it out and know how to work with people. I kind of think it's like a raging river. And my job is to figure out how to dam it up, to direct it to where I need it to go. To hit the points. So that's hard. Also, we're dealing with money. If I don't do my job well, then they can be exposed and lose anywhere from $50,000 of cash to $6,000 to find, it just depends. When you buy a home, you have to put down a good faith deposit, and then it's in my hands on what I do. And sometimes even when it's not in my hands, so I'm still kind of in charge of it, even if it's the lender's fault or the seller's or someone else. So that's definitely a heavy burden to bear, just to make sure that you're not screwing people up. Then
I would bet that people changing their mind. They tell you, this is what we want, this is what we want. And then you find out, God, they really want something different. And I've spent all this time.
Yeah. If you're good at your job though, so there are like different things you can do to kind of help narrow that down. Like whenever we leave a home, we're like, all right, pro con, scale of 1 to 10, 10's write me an offer right now. Where are we at? And so you can kind of flesh out some of those. That's definitely not the worst part of it. And then it's also just, the stress and the anxiety of, think of how much time you spend in your home. Think of how much money you've invested in your home. This is a huge purchase. It's very emotional. And if I don't do my job well, they're either losing out on it or they're getting themselves in a really bad situation. I've had clients call me in the, earlier stages, and they're like, hey, like the inspector missed this. I just had to spend this much money to fix it. And it's not technically my fault that the inspector missed it, but I'm getting the phone call. It's not a good phone call. And you just have to you can't be defensive, that's hard because you're always waiting for a shoe to drop. When anyone calls me, I'm like, oh God, why? Why are you calling me?
All right, well, let's wrap this up on a positive note. When are you having the most fun in this job?
I love talking to people about real estate. My ideal Saturday is wake up, go meet with some new buyers. I have a buyer book where we walk through the whole process. We talk about where they want to be. We're at coffee. I know all the coffee shops around me. I go to an afternoon party with someone else has planned. I meet a bunch of new people. They all follow me on Instagram because they love real estate and they love talking about homes. I show some homes in the evening, and then we write an offer on one, and that's a day. That is so fun that I get paid to do that. I think all the time, this is insane that my dollar per hour, if I go to a party, I'm working. That's so fun. That to me is I've hacked the system. This is amazing. My job is to meet people and make friends. Sign me up. Then you have a business. My business expenses are wine tastings and brewery events. Twist my arm. Yeah, I'll pay for that.
Well, that's wonderful. I love to see somebody that's so happy in their job, because there's plenty of people that are not, and that's what we want to do, is give people some open doors to find, all right, what is the right path for you? So Emily, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Of course. Happy to do it.
Okay. We'll talk again soon.
Bye.
Bye.